First story, The Man in the Rear View. You ever had that feeling, that creeping, skin-tightening feeling when you're driving alone at night? Like something is watching you. Like something is just waiting. You tell yourself it's exhaustion. You check the rearview mirror just to reassure yourself that nothing is there. But what if one night something is there? What if you look up and someone is sitting in your back seat? That's what happened to me. It was past 2 a.m. and I was driving down an endless empty highway. No streetlights, no gas stations, just pure crushing darkness. I was heading home after a long shift, exhausted but alert. The kind of exhaustion where your eyes burn and your body feels too heavy. The only sound was the low hum of my tires against the road. And then I heard it. A breath, a slow, wet breath from the back seat. My entire body locked up. I gripped the wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. I didn't want to look. I shouldn't have looked. But some sick, twisted instinct made me glance up at the rearview mirror. And that's when I saw him. A figure sitting behind me, not moving, not breathing, just sitting. A dark silhouette with no clear features. Just a shadow, shaped like a man. My throat closed, my chest tightened. I told myself it was a trick of the light. Maybe I was just tired. Maybe my brain was playing games with me. Then the figure moved, not quickly, not suddenly. Slowly, his head tilted sideways, but too far, like a puppet with loose strings. Crack, a sickening snap of bone, and his head slumped even further. My stomach lurched. Then he spoke, but not with a normal voice. His voice was inside my head. Don't look away. I froze. He doesn't like it when you look away. Who was he talking about? I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. I felt like something heavy was pressing against my chest, like unseen hands were squeezing my ribs, crushing me. Then something cold touched my shoulder. I nearly drove off the road. I slammed the gas pedal, my heart slamming against my ribs. The car was shaking. My vision blurred with panic. The road seemed endless. The figure in the mirror never blinked. Then something grabbed the wheel. My hands weren't moving, but the wheel was turning. The car swerved violently. My tires screeched, and I barely missed a ditch. I was fighting something I couldn't even see. Then, nothing. Blackness. When I woke up, I wasn't on the highway anymore. I was home. Sitting in my driveway, my car was off. My hands were still gripping the wheel. Clock read 4:44 m, 2 hours not gone. I swallowed hard, my throat dry as sand. I didn't remember driving home. I didn't remember anything after the highway. And then I saw it. My windshield, scratches, long, deep gouges across the inside of the glass, like something had been clawing to get out. My stomach turned to ice. I swallowed, forcing myself to breathe. Maybe I had imagined everything. Maybe I was just exhausted. But then I saw the words, carved into the glass. Don't look away. A shiver ran down my spine so fast it felt electric. And then I heard it, the sound of a door, a slow, creaking door. I turned my head just enough, and my car's back door was wide open. I stopped breathing. The night air was still, empty. Then a breath right behind me, so close I could feel the heat of it against my neck. And then that same voice whispering, too late. The car locks clicked shut and the lights went out. Second story, The Drowned One. You ever hear the ocean calling? Not in a poetic way. Not in a way that makes you want to sit by the shore and listen to the waves. I mean really calling. Like a voice under the water. A whisper in the tide. I heard it that night, and I should have kept driving. It was past midnight. The road ran parallel to the coastline. Nothing but the vast black ocean on my right and steep cliffs on my left. The highway was deserted, no streetlights, no cars, just me and the sound of my tires humming against the pavement. The wind had died. The air was too still, like the whole world was holding its breath. That's when I saw it, a small beach turnout, secluded, silent. The tide was low, exposing jagged rocks and seaweed-strewn sand. The moon's reflection shimmered across the water, but it looked off. The waves weren't moving right, like something beneath them was shifting, watching, waiting. I should have kept going, but something made me stop. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was that deep, gnawing feeling that I wasn't alone. Or maybe something wanted me to stop. I pulled over, cutting the engine. Silence, not even the sound of wind, not even the sound of insects, just my own breathing. And then the sound, a wet, slapping noise coming from the shore. Not the crash of waves, not the rustling of water against rocks. Something else, something heavy, something dragging itself forward. My chest tightened. I turned slowly toward the beach, and that's when I saw them. Footprints, leading from the water, still fresh, still sinking into the sand. But there was no one there. No one! A chill ran through me, sharp as ice. Something had walked out of the ocean. But where was it now? The air turned thick, heavy with moisture. The smell hit me next, a stench of salt and decay, like something had been left to rot at the bottom of the sea for too long. A whisper, close, too close. My breath caught in my throat, a sound like someone exhaling water. I whipped around. Nothing. The road behind me was empty. The beach was empty. But I felt it. Something was watching me. I reached for my door handle, my fingers slick with sweat. Then the locks clicked shut. I didn't touch them. My pulse hammered in my ears. The air in the car turned thick, suffocating, like I was breathing in water. Then I saw it, my reflection in the window. And I wasn't alone. A face stared back at me, but it wasn't mine. It was bloated, waterlogged, skin stretched too tight, swollen and pale. Strands of black dripping hair hung over empty sunken eyes. The mouth hung open. The jaw unhinged. Something trickled down its chin. Seaweed or something darker? I turned my head, my body screaming, move, run, do something. And that's when I heard it. A voice, a gurgling, drowning whisper. You left me down there. I froze. Now, I'm taking you with me. Something cold, wet, a hand slamming onto my shoulder. fingers digging into my skin. I screamed, but the sound was cut off, drowned. Water flooded the car. I gasped, choking, as ice-cold salt water filled my lungs. The wheel was gone. The seats were gone. I was sinking into something endless, something hungry. My hands clawed at the car door, but it wasn't there anymore. The pressure was crushing, the weight of the ocean pressing down on me, shoving me deeper, deeper. And then I saw them. Other faces, dozens, hundreds, suspended in the water around me, mouths open, screaming soundlessly, eyes hollow and black. One reached for me, fingers dragging against my arm, peeling skin like wet paper. Another grabbed my ankle, pulling me down, deeper. My lungs burned, my vision blurred, and in the darkness below, something massive stirred, a shape, a presence, watching, waiting. The water pulsed, alive. And then it spoke, not with words, not with sound, with pressure, with pain. It wanted me. It had been waiting for me. I felt it wrap around my mind, slithering through my thoughts like tendrils of black water, drowning me from the inside out. And the last thing I saw was the tide swallowing me whole. The next morning, a car was found abandoned on the side of the road. The driver's seat was wet, salt crusted over the dashboard. Seaweed clung to the seatbelts. The keys were still in the ignition, but there was no sign of me, only a single set of footprints, leading back into the ocean. Third story, the van that never lets you go. You ever had a feeling that something is following you? Not paranoia, not a trick of the headlights in your mirror. Something real, something that knows your name. I never used to believe in that kind of thing until that night, until the van. It started on a road like any other, a long empty highway cutting through nowhere. I was heading home after a long drive, nothing but the low hum of the engine and the occasional crackle of the radio keeping me company. The road stretched ahead, black and endless, swallowed by the night. No streetlights, no signs, just darkness. And then I saw the van. It appeared in my rearview mirror. White, old, beat to hell, headlights flickering like they were struggling to stay on. I didn't think much of it at first, just another driver on the road, but then it matched my speed. I sped up, it sped up. I slowed down, it slowed down. A tight feeling started in my chest. Maybe just coincidence, I told myself. Maybe some tired driver sticking to the same route. Then the lights blinked. 1, 2, pause, 3, 4, a strange pattern, like a signal. Something in me recognized it, but I didn't know why. A sharp, cold sensation ran down my spine. The kind you get when someone calls your name from an empty room. A childhood fear slamming into you out of nowhere. I shook it off. Just some idiot playing games. But then the honking started. Loud, aggressive, desperate. Beep, beep, pause, beep, beep. Same pattern. 1, 2, pause, 3, 4. I pressed down on the gas, trying to get the hell away from it. My heart hammered. The van did the same. I switched lanes. It followed. I floored it. It kept up. No other cars. No exits. Just the van. Then it overtook me. Not by speeding ahead, It pulled up beside me. I turned my head and almost drove off the road. The driver's seat was empty, but the van was moving, keeping pace with me perfectly. My hands shook on the wheel. My breath came in short, ragged gasps. Then, slowly, the passenger door of the van swung open. No one inside, just darkness, a space waiting to be filled by me. I yanked the wheel, tires screeching as I veered off onto the first exit. Saw a lone gas station, the only sign of life for miles. The van didn't follow. It just stopped, hazards blinking in the road like it was waiting. The gas station was dead silent, the kind of silence that presses against your ears like the world is holding its breath. I pulled in fast, heart slamming, tried to collect myself. Deep breaths. I glanced back at the highway. The van was already there, parked, with the doors open. A group of figures stepped out, identical white hoodies, faces blurred, shifting like they weren't fully real. One of them stepped forward, and in my voice it said, "We've been trying to bring you back. You were never supposed to leave." I couldn't breathe. A hand tapped my window. I nearly jumped out of my skin. The gas station attendant, just some guy, frowning at me, concerned. "You okay?" he asked. I blinked, turned back. The van was gone, but my phone vibrated. A voicemail. From my own number. I swallowed, hands shaking as I pressed play. A whispering voice. "My voice, you're still in the van. Wake up!" I dropped my phone. The sound of it hitting the car floor barely registered. My skin felt like ice, my breath coming in short, sharp gasps. What the hell was happening? I squeezed my eyes shut, willing the world to make sense again. This was some kind of prank, right? A trick of exhaustion, highway hypnosis. Maybe I dozed off for a second, dreamt something terrible. But then I heard it. A soft, distant click, the sound of a van door sliding. Open, my eyes shot open. The gas station was empty, but my rearview mirror. The van was behind me again, closer than before. And the door was open, a choked gasp caught in my throat. The gas station lights flickered, buzzing erratically. The air inside the car turned thick, suffocating. Then, movement. Something crawled out of the van, not stepped. Crawled, a shadowy, twisted shape, dragging itself along the pavement. Its limbs were wrong, bent in ways that should have been impossible. And it was coming for me. I fumbled for the keys, fingers numb, heart slamming. The thing stopped, tilted its head, and in my voice it whispered, "There's nowhere to run." Vision blurred as I threw the car into drive, tires screeching against the pavement. I didn't care where I was going. I just had to get away. The headlights of the gas station flickered wildly in my mirror, and for the briefest second I saw them, the figures in white hoodies, standing in a perfect line. Watching, the van didn't chase me this time, because it didn't have to. Somewhere, deep inside, I already knew. It had never stopped following me, and it never would.
The conclusion. You know, sometimes it's not just a story. You ever been driving alone at night, maybe after a long shift or a late night trip, and suddenly you feel like you're not alone? Maybe it's a shadow in your mirror that wasn't there before. Maybe it's that split second where your headlights catch something on the side of the road, something standing still, watching, and you tell yourself it's nothing. You shake it off, turn up the radio, convince yourself you're imagining things. But what if you weren't? What if something was really there? And worse, what if it followed you home? If you've made it this far, drop a in the comments. Let me know. Have you ever had a moment like this? A time when the night didn't feel so empty? And if you enjoy these stories, don't forget to subscribe. Because trust me, the things lurking in the dark, we've barely scratched the surface. Like the video if it gave you chills. Share it, but only if you think you're safe. And next time you're alone in your car, check your back seat before you drive. You never know what might be waiting for you.